Barbie is one of the most successful products ever made. Toys, movies, and the ability to land pretty much any job she wants. Unlike you. She's basically better at life than most of us. But when it comes to video games, that's where things start to fall apart. And it's not exactly rocket science. Barbie was never really meant for this space, and the games do absolutely nothing to prove otherwise. Today, we're diving into 3 Barbie games released on the hottest console of their time. So sit tight, because today we're starting with Barbie Race and Ride. So here we are, sailing around with animals in what is very clearly a game made for horse lovers. My brother was obsessed with it for some reason. I never really got the appeal. The game dropped in 1999, published by Mattel and developed by Runecraft, a British studio that doesn't even exist anymore. The reception of it was not kind. Reviews were pretty negative, and rightfully so. Even if you consider it was aimed at a younger audience, the game just doesn't deliver a good experience. And yet, VG Charts reports over 500,000 copies sold, which is impressive, but also kind of a double-edged sword. That's a lot of revenue, but also a lot of people finding out the hard way that your game sucks. The game opens with Barbie riding up to you on her horse, welcoming you to Secret Valley. Supposedly, it's a place full of activities where your goal is simple: have fun and eventually find a hidden ranch. Once you hit the menu, you enter your name, pick an outfit, and choose a horse, which you can also name. Mine, Shadow, the Grey Stallion. After that, the game throws you onto a board that works as your level selector. You got a cat, a rat, and the tack area, which is basically where you take care of your horse. You can bathe him in what feels like a cheap minigame from the DS, feed him endlessly, and get him ready to ride. All of this is completely optional, since you can jump on your horse whenever you want. There's also a tutorial to prepare you for the gameplay, and this is it. This is Barbie Race and Ride. A first-person view of your horse bobbing up and down while you move forward. Sometimes the game tells you to stop for an activity, sometimes you avoid or jump over obstacles. That's it. The tutorial lasts about 30 seconds because that's pretty much everything the game has to offer. Back at the board, you got 4 levels: the beach, the meadow, the redwood forest, and the mountains. Each one follows the same structure. You ride out at dawn and come back at dusk, which is the game's way of pretending there is variety. And for a game that's supposed to be about riding your horse, it doesn't take long before it forgets that. About 5 seconds into the beach level, you are already off your horse solving a puzzle. The one thing I actually liked, the racing, which is funny because it immediately abandons everything the game was trying to be. Suddenly, it's a 2D side-scrolling split-screen minigame, a downgrade. The game never explains the controls, so I was just mashing right on the D-pad, hoping for the best. I think it worked because I never lost any of the 3 or 4 races I played. I beat Teresa, I beat Christy, they had nothing on Shadow. From there, it's just more of the same. You stop constantly for activities. At times it becomes an Animal Planet or Nat Geo special, since all you do is interact with animals. By completing these, you collect pieces of a map that leads to the secret ranch. Once you get all 4 pieces, you unlock the final stage, which is again more of the same: riding, mini games, and now collecting food to prepare a feast for your horse. After that, you get a final cutscene. A foal, a baby horse, shows up, excited to meet you and eat what you collected. And that's it. That's Barbie Race and Ride, unless you feel like replaying or speedrunning those 90 minutes. For a really young kid, especially someone who loves horses, I can see this working. Back then, a lot of people didn't even have memory cards, so a short game like this could feel endless. You can maybe say it has something going for it, but you cannot say this is a good game when you paid maybe $49.99 for this 90-minute PowerPoint slideshow, especially when that same money could get you something like Metal Gear Solid 1. Recently, in October 2025, they actually released a modern game inspired by this idea. It looks way better, definitely something that I will get for my daughter or sister. Anyway, the horses have suffered enough. It's time for Barbie Explorer. This one was also developed by Runecraft, but published by Barbie Games in September 2001. Sales were much lower this time, barely over 100,000 copies. The approach here is completely different from Race and Ride. Barbie took a job as a reporter, traveling the world to recover the missing pieces of an ancient mirror. These pieces are scattered across locations like Tibet, Egypt, and Africa. The game clearly tries to take inspiration from Tomb Raider, but if you ask me, it's much more closer to a Crash Bandicoot. And even then, it falls short because of how simplified everything is. Still, it has its charm. It's fun, fast-paced, and definitely has that rage quit component, so it took me 3 different days to beat. You start with the 3 main levels, each containing 4 stages. In the African jungle, Barbie takes on rainforest challenges like jumping over pits, collecting gems, and dealing with moving platforms. At this point, it's basically the first Crash game all over again. There's also some puzzles, but they're not difficult, just vague. The game throws a few levers at you and expects you to figure it out by trial and error. The goal is simple: get through the levels without losing all of your lives, and eventually face the boss guarding the mirror piece. In the African jungle, that boss is an abnormally giant python, not even an exaggeration, this thing is sliding across the entire level. Funny enough, the boss fights are actually the shortest and easiest part of the games. You beat them the moment you get past them, and that's it. The first stage is done. Next up, Tibet. The next location, it's more of the same, just with snow everywhere, mountain paths, random goats, same objectives, just colder. There's a whole level dedicated to jumping across broken bridges, which feels ripped straight out of that one crash level, except now the difficulty is higher, especially with how janky Barbie responds to analog movements. To its credit, the game does add variety. Suddenly, Barbie is escalating with no equipment at all. Bear Grylls, you have nothing on her. Also, the platforms just became a much more delicate matter of timing and precision, and even the protector of the mirror piece in Tibet joins the party. A Yeti throwing huge snowballs at you. Again, the moment you reach him, he just bolts away and lets you get a hold of the piece. The game basically wrapped things up by doing the same thing one more time in Egypt, this time with more of an Indiana Jones style setting. Once you complete the first 3 areas, you unlock the final mission, which takes place in Babylon. Some outrageous jumps are required. The problem is the game itself. Half the time I was facing straight through platforms like the polygons just gave up. I generally don't understand how the collision works here. Beating this part was actually challenging, and it makes me wonder how many younger players ever managed to finish this game. The Babylon levels lean heavily into puzzles, trying to feel more complex than they actually are. The final guardian is a giant fly trap that spits at you, while you're also dodging other fly traps around the stage. Once again, page ripped straight out of the Crash Bandicoot book. Once you get past it, a cutscene shows Barbie finding the final mirror piece and returning to complete the ancient mirror. And then, nothing. The game just ends on a cliffhanger. You never get to see what the mirror actually does. And since this never got a sequel, use your imagination and fill the gaps. That's Barbie the Explorer for ya. Now, for the last game of the day, Barbie Super Sports. Out of the 3, this is the one I like the most, mainly because it actually sticks to what it promises. Super sports. Snowboarding and roller skating, nothing else. Releasing December 30th, 1999, which is kind of an odd date. By the same team behind the other games, it sells going over 200,000 copies. You start by entering your name, picking a Barbie character, and customizing her outfit. You can match colors if you want, or not. I jump into roller skating first, heading into the skate park. Each stage is built around reaching a score by collecting tickets, performing tricks, and hitting jumps along the way. It's simple, but that's exactly why it works in my opinion. It doesn't try to be more than it is. As a matter of a fact, it impressed me a little bit. It's a very swift experience with some easy to get around controls, and as family friendly the game is intended, it's not boring. Maybe it replaced some levels out of laziness, but if it wasn't for that, the game could have lasted maybe 20 to 30 minutes. There are 3 levels in total, and you have to beat each of them twice. Once that's done, you unlock a final stage called the Carnival. Here, you're basically set free to go through obstacles and try out all the stunts the game has introduced. I was stuck for a good 5 minutes with the last rail grind. Seemed like you needed to hit the perfect angle so you can perform the trick. Then a cutscene shows Barbie and friends celebrating that you finished your roller skating. Next up is snowboarding. You prepare your outfit again because the weather changed abruptly where this game takes place, and head outside into a third-person lobby that's actually pretty well designed. The structure stays the same, 3 levels, 1 race, 1 focus on collecting tickets, and 1 where you are smashing snowmen while going downhill. Some fun action along the way. After beating those levels a second time, you unlock the final snowboarding stage. They went super creative on this last one. Instead of tickets, you are collecting gems before a 70-second timer runs out. You get down out of the mountain, and the final cutscene ensues. More of the same.
Cool! Yeah! Excellent! That was so cool!
And that's everything Barbie Super Sports has to offer. They don't even roll the credits automatically. You'll have to go find them yourself. That ends this Barbie PlayStation 1 overview. These games show that they tried, just not very hard. You could definitely call them cash grabs. Simple ideas, simple execution, and no real ambition behind them. It feels like they were made to exist, not to stand out. They kept releasing Barbie games every year all the way to 2016. Nothing memorable, nothing that comes to mind. I don't think Barbie does not belong in video games. I think she just hasn't been given the right opportunity. No developer or publisher really stepped in trying to make a generally great game. Instead, they have focused on making a Barbie game. Not much else that I can tell you. If there's a Barbie game in the PS2, I might check it out. My name is Yourcelis, and with nothing else to say, good night. Barbie Race and Ride is better than Red Dead Redemption 2.